the Assistant Secretary General of the United Nations and Deputy Executive Director for UN Women. UNWomen.org is the website. Ms. Lakshmi Puri, am I saying your name right?
Absolutely.
Oh, thank you so much for joining us, Ms. Puri. Ms. Puri, tell us what is the current status of women around the world from the point of view of the United Nations?
Well, when UN Women was created, it was based on the recognition that around the world, gender equality and women's empowerment was an unfinished project. And it remains so. And 3.5 years since UN Women's creation, we have made progress because we have, as UN Women, worked to advocate globally for gender equality and women's empowerment. We have created more partnerships around the world to support women's economic empowerment, women's participation in peacemaking and peace building, for women to have more voice, participation and leadership in decision making, for women to have equal rights to decent work and equal wages and economic empowerment, land rights, inheritance rights. And we have worked with governments around the world to make sure that budgets and development plans are gender responsive, that they are focused and targeting and prioritizing the needs and interests and agency and using the agency of women and girls. Those efforts have meant progress, but there is much that remains to be done. And one other major focus of our effort has been ending violence against women. So in all of these areas, as you know well, women's poverty is a continuing concern. There is increased feminization of poverty. There is, women are still part of the vulnerable workforce and informal sector rather than the formal workforce. Women still get between 10 to 30% less in wages as compared to men. Women still don't have land rights in many societies. Women still are deprived of productive assets they need to be economically empowered and have that autonomy. Women are also still in fact, it's a startling statistic that 1 in 3 women in most countries suffer from one form of violence or another in their lifetime. So this is still, as you said, many challenges despite progress. And we also very much lack the resources to address these challenges. So the underinvestment in the potential of women and girls is a continuing problem.
One of the points that's made by many writers, I wrote about it in a book called The Last Hours of Ancient Sunlight, is that for those people who are concerned about the population explosion worldwide and its consequences for everything from famine on the one hand to carbon, our global carbon footprint on the other, the most effective way to control population is to educate and empower women and girls. What is first of all, would you agree with that? And secondly, if so, what is the status of efforts to empower and educate women and girls around the world?
I absolutely agree, but I would like to take a different approach. Rather than refer to population control, we talk about sustainability, sustainable development, and sustainable demographics.
Brilliant.
And in that context, as in other aspects of sustainable development, whether it is economic growth, whether it is social inclusiveness and development, whether it is environmental and ecological sustainability, and you are, I think, referring to also these planetary tipping points um, of resources.
Yes.
All of those are critically linked to women's and girls' empowerment and their equal rights. And one critical aspect of that is sexual and reproductive health and rights. If you provide women and girls with these rights and guarantee these rights, you will see a tremendous, it's a game changer for them. And on one hand, it will reduce maternal mortality and infant mortality. It will improve the health of women and girls, but also of their families. It will reduce poverty because they will not be giving birth to children, more and more poor children, because poverty is replicated and when you have large families, and particularly when the the when poor communities are not provided the means for family planning. So, I mean, if we can ensure that every child is wanted, every child is provided for, and every family is planned, we are really going for a sustainable planet and demographics.
Marvelous. And I'm so glad that you're there and that you're doing this important work at unwomen.org. Ms. Lakshmi Puri, the Assistant Secretary General of the United Nations and Deputy Executive Director of UN Women. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to have been here.
Thank you. Thank you so
you
much for the work that you're doing.